I am Nanci Trivellato, and it's going to be a pleasure for us to have this chat here. And I would like to take your questions at the end. So you let me know what you want to know. Let me, yes, making someone co-host. We have here Angelica, who is a colleague. She is an IAC instructor as well. Our topic today is about fears of the astral travel or out of body experience. And throughout all of these years teaching the out of body experience, it's amazing how we observe the impact that fear can have to all of us and any of us when it comes to the OBE. I'd say that that perhaps is among the factors that you would pick, in a handful of factors, the one or the ones that are the most impactful and important for us to understand. Not always it's so easy to overcome them. And that's why our focus today is on overcoming and what we can do. Why is it not always so easy to overcome fear of the out of body experience? Because most of them, they are not as clear to us. They are kind of unconscious. And when we become conscious of them, in many cases, they just turn into an automatic reaction for us. I don't know if those of you who are now watching me, if you can identify with this that I am talking about, that sometimes we are just about to leave the body, or we start sensing some of the sensations, or we kind of can perceive someone in the room, or there is someone trying to inspire us to get out, and all of a sudden our hearts start pounding, bam, 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 and it's impossible, right? I remember one of the students that we have had long time ago, probably 25 years ago or so, but for me, that was very remarkable because in that time we were doing some programs on the out of body experience in some universities. We have had the pleasure of giving courses, I mean the IAC, but a course that I developed with Wagner Legret just because we are here for so long. But we were giving a course at the university, one a major university there in Miami where we used to live at that time. And there was a student that came from knowing us from that university, and he was in one of our consciousness development program class. And he engaged in the class. He came to just a lecture, a talk like we are here, and then he engaged in the class. And at that time, all classes were in person, right? Something that today, when we have it, it's a privilege because we are so spread all over the world, not even talking about COVID, but we still give classes in person here at our campus. I say here because I am now in Portugal at the IAC campus in Portugal. Going back to the student that we had here, his name was Alfredo. I still remember him very much, a very sweet person. But Alfredo started taking the classes, and we went by covering all of the different elements that could be hindering him from having the out of body experience. Because his story was, and I remember that during our talk, that was prior to him taking the CDP, he said, look, I had an experience, I was 16, and it's been 25 years that I am trying and I don't get it. And I did all sorts of techniques and I followed everybody. And then I thought, it's not my fault, but okay. Then there he was, just so eager to have the experience. In one of our practical classes, towards the end of the CDP, the Consciousness Development Program, we were in a specific, using a specific technique. And then at the end, he told me that he was there, super relaxed, feeling well, as we normally feel when we are about to leave the body. Everything good. He was getting there, and then he saw someone trying to help him, and he just saw like a hand. He told me like he would see from up down, just a hand. And he knew, he felt inside of himself, one of those things like in the near-death experience, when people know, if I cross here, I won't come back. Well, he had the same feeling, but nothing to do with the near-death experience. different, but same certainty. He knew if he would hold that hand, he would then disconnect. He would manage to finally be more in tune with the non-physical world than with the physical world, physical environment, physical body, because he was never completely able to disconnect from this hook that we have here. It's an anchor. The body is an anchor. The environment, our notion that we are in a bed, in our bedroom or wherever we are, all of that is like an anchor. So Alfredo, when he knew that it was very easy, he was almost there. All he had to do is to will to go towards that hand. Then he couldn't because his heart, I told me, his heart was like coming up his throat. And at the end, he was, I was there after all of these years. And I couldn't. I just noticed, he told me, that I was afraid. And I stopped by fear, even though I knew that was positive, that was okay. I could go with it. That's what I wanted. I knew I'm here with you guys. I knew everything's safe. But I learned then that I had this fear. I remember him very often because by training people, we see what are the most common obstacles. And the most common obstacles tend to be the simpler ones. We think, oh, disconnecting from the body or learning a very sophisticated technique. It's not a matter of learning a very sophisticated technique. It's a matter of learning how to use the small different elements that appear in each step towards a full conscious out of body experience. But managing all those little factors can be tricky because sometimes surprise is something that holds us back, even a positive one. Suppose you are there super relaxed and then you feel a vibrational state super strong inside of you and you think, wow, amazing, I got it. Bum, comes back. I do not know how much experience you have with this, but another very common factor that makes people return or stop them, it's when they have, for example, an experience, they are conscious outside the body, they kind of disconnect even spontaneously or sometimes trying a technique, but when you do a technique and you think, it's so hard, yeah, maybe I get it, maybe I don't. And then when some people find themselves projected outside of their bodies, they think, wow, I got it. What do I do now? And that is enough. What do I do now? How many possibilities we have when we are outside the body? Let us think. What can we do? Oh, we can do so many things. We can choose a place for us to visit. We can visit someone who is here in the physical world. Not that necessarily we will get into every environment, everybody's room. It's not like that. There are many different factors. But for the sake of the argument of thinking what could be a target, it could be a target to visit a relative of yours or to try and meet someone who passed away, a loved one who you would like to see how he or she is. Or let's say that you would like to see a volcano in eruption. You can even go enter in there. Suppose you would like to fly in the cosmos and get out of the planet for a moment and enjoy that super different energy. You can. So then what stops us? Or maybe dive into the ocean, go, into those abyss in the ocean with so many different species there of living creatures. But what stops us to do all of this? Our conditioning. And behind our conditioning, it's a set of fears, beliefs that we have to follow outside the body, the same rules that we have to follow here. Because here, if you see a building on fire, you'd better not go there. But if you are outside the body, you see a building on fire, you can't go there. But now, please think with me. Would you be able to? conscious, huh? Super conscious. You know you are outside your body. You know you are projected, and you think, okay, I'm not going to get hurt. That is a physical fire. I am projected. I know I am. My body is there in my bed. I know it, and I can enter. It's possible, and many people do, but it's not easy. So, one of the enemies we have to be able to achieve lucid, good out of body experience and to be able to have great adventures, it's how we see non-physical or the non-physical dimension, how much we understand about our non-physical body, astral body, if you will. And this can make a major difference. Now, throughout our lives, and I can speak for myself, maybe you can think about your personal case, but throughout your lives, usually when we are just being educated, being brought up, and learning about life, our childhood, our teens, we are not necessarily are very fortunate to have parents and siblings and educators at the school, teachers who understand what the non-physical reality is, who understands that this body is not us, who have had out of body experiences and can figure out when we are describing something that's like an out of body experience. Because of it, we are normally trained or educated to be very safe, meaning, oh, don't go there, that is dangerous. I remember when I was around 15, 16, there was a colleague. I didn't have much knowledge about the out of body experience in terms of reading, but I had my experience. I just assumed they were something that everybody had, never thought of it. One day I saw an article in a newspaper. And I do not know how that article appeared there. I used to live in a small city, not the same city that I was born in, which was super small. It was regular size, but we had only one newspaper. And then I got the newspaper and I read there, Astral Travel. And then I thought, oh, so it's possible to do it at will. Because for me, it was something that just either happened or not. And then I went to talk to the only person that I knew who was informed about the mystical uh, topics, mystical subjects. So he liked to talk about chakras and aura and this sort of thing. So I came to him with the article and I said, look, have you ever heard of this? We can do astral travel at will. And he looked at me, yes, yes, I know it's possible, but it's very dangerous. You should never try and do it. You may get lost. Well, then I didn't try because I didn't know better. After some time, I continued having experience. And of course, I got more mature. And then I started studying more about different phenomena and all of the sensations that I had until finally I could have a clear vision of what the multidimensional life is. What do I mean by multidimensional life? I mean the fact that we are here in a physical body, but there are other layers of reality that we may not see with our eyes. And speaking of that is even silly because our eyes don't see everything, right? Many of us, we need glasses, corrective lenses, and and we do not see all different frequencies of light, for example, obviously. But let us suppose, for the sake of the argument, that we could take our vision as a sign of the real physical world. Okay, then I say, we look around and is this the only reality? No, there are other energies. There are realms, dimensions that are not physical, where we go to when we are outside of our bodies. But most people, they only know the fact that, okay, here's the physical dimension, we get out, there is the whatever, astral dimension, non-physical, we like to call it non-physical dimension. But there's the non-physical dimension of life, and that's it. Not really, because this non-physical dimension is composed of many different layers, each of them with different characteristics, with different type of communities, with different tone in terms of the atmosphere, the energetic information that is there. And this is why it's not so easy for us necessarily to interpret all of our out of body experience. Then, going back to the beginning of my reasoning here, because we have been brought up in a way that nobody knows how to teach us about those things, and everybody tries to be safe and teach us what is safe, we end up getting like ingrained inside of us some sense of precaution, some sense that, well, if I let go of my body, then what? Or if I meet an evil being outside, then what? Or what about, suppose one of you would think, what about the day that I was there just relaxed in my teens and I couldn't move and I felt that very heavy, like a dark, dense, heavy figure that would come close to me. So what about that? And all of this tends to confuse us. But there are perfect, normal explanations for all of this once we understand it. It's the same thing as if, imagine a child now, 5 years old, just to pick an example that is current. And this child would be living in this phase of ours that everybody has to wear masks. Many people are afraid of getting ill. We see lots of people dying. There is a certain somberness in the atmosphere of our planet because many people are in difficult situations without jobs, anyways. So that child may see the world as this moment experience. Whilst for someone else in another moment, maybe some of us, the world would be full of ice creams and toys, and that's it. So the type of experience that we had when we were younger tends to condition how we see and interpret our future experiences. I am doing a research on children who have had some sort of psychic phenomena, out of body experience or clairvoyance, like seeing non physical beings or energies, or being sensitive, having intuition, perceiving presences in the room, being afraid of something that apparently is nothing, but the child is certain there is something there. And I know many of us have had some of these things. Not all of us, but it's quite common based on my experience. Now, depending on the type of experience we have had in our childhood, it may condition us to a point that now you think, okay, I'm going to have this wonderful out of body experience, this wonderful adventure. And I want to see the place where I used to live before being born. I don't mean a previous physical life, I mean a period in between lives. Or maybe you want to say, let me check if it's true that we don't die and there are people who are in between lives. Let me check what happens when someone is very ill. Let me take a look and see what happens in their energy. Let me see what happens when two people are in love. See, from the non-physical point of view, you are there projected. So how do their energies interact with one another? Let me check. Imagine how many things you could learn and do. But the conditioning keeps limiting us. So I could see a lot of that in myself for that period because of little suggestions like that friend of mine who did with the best of his intention. That's what he knew. And so then I made a point in my life to understand more this phenomena and to help people understand and to help those who would like to have the experience so that they can have a more clear vision of what life is. Life is not only what we see, but what we see is part of life. It's very important that we are balanced in terms of our mental health, balanced in terms of our emotions, balanced in terms of how we handle life, so that we can adventure to more complex life, which would be a multidimensional one, being conscious while outside the body. But that's much richer. Being balanced doesn't mean perfect. Because if we have to be perfect to do anything whatsoever in this life, I don't know your opinion, but in my opinion, based on my experience, but also on all of our studies, then we wouldn't do anything because we are evolving, we are learning. There are many things that you have developed in terms of your personality, skills, that I don't have those skills. But I'm sure there are others that I do have and you don't. So that is normal. But what's our next step in evolution? And how can we identify how our fears could be stopping us? And which are those? Do they interfere only in my capacity to adventure outside the body? Or this limitation is also reflected in my everyday life, meaning in a way that I or someone in that way would not be able to face challenges or take risks or prepare themselves to a more complex situation that they have to win, but win in a sense of they have to be able to do what they think is correct to do. Many times we have situations like this that we put to ourselves a purpose, a goal, and we end up not going ahead, not being able to conclude. So, my question here is, to what extent the same trait that is linked to the conscious or unconscious fear we may have of projecting outside the body could be linked with other limitations and obstacles that we end up facing here in our physical life? Of course, not necessarily we have the answer for this now, but it's important that we at least have this in mind and reflect upon this because the experiences that we have, even the attempts to leave the body that we would do, if even if we fail, it teaches us something. And even if we do not manage to have a full out of body experience, just sensing that we can float, that can we start to disconnect, can be so meaningful to the individual as a being, as a soul. So it can make a huge difference. So I wanted to mention these ideas about fear and how fear can stop us not only to leave the body, but I also wanted, oops, can you give me a moment? I see my battery is running low, but I should be plugged in. Give me just a second, please. One more second. Now I got it. I apologize. I'm glad I saw it. It was supposed to be connected. So just taking back where I was getting from that. So I think it's very relevant that we see to what extent we may have those conditionings. And if you want to have an out of body experience, what is it that really stops you? Could that be fear? And then of what? The more you can go to details, the better, because then you can look for answers. Answers that would clarify to you how things work outside the body. It's not just a matter of go there and then you hear someone's experience and someone else's experience. I don't like very much, me personally, and it's also how we tend to teach at the IAC, because sometimes people just tell stories and they're very nice. One case, another case, but they don't teach us. They just tell us examples. It's like someone telling you, well, I went to New York and it was winter and it was like this and this. This is how it happens to them. So there was a storm, they were stuck, they felt cold. They found a nice cafe with very warm tea. Or no, the person doesn't like tea. They're going to, it's always different. So we cannot decide what life is just based on how people tell you how they see life. You have to see by yourself. You have to sense, you have to experience, and then declare or inside of you identify that, hmm, I like this aspect of life. I don't like that. When I go to New York in the winter, for me, it's a nice experience, or it's not. I do not have good memories. You have to know that. So, in this sense, the more we can dig, the more we can experience, the better. But that does not mean we are learning. I have one video in my private channel. If you want to go, can go there and take a look. That I call it "How to Learn from Someone Else's Out of Body Experience." And then my point is, we have to learn from that what are common points in all of the experience and study what's the mechanism behind those points rather than taking the account as the lesson, as the summary of how things are. So I have picked here some slides to show you. Can I go ahead for a while more? Yes. Are you guys there with me? Okay. Can I? Yes,
Yes.
I just want to show you a few pictures here, and then I'm going to open for your questions, and I will be pleased to talking to you. We do not have many people because of our link situation, so let's take advantage of this and talk, and I will be pleased with it. But here, I want to show you something that is, you can see my slide, can you? So I'm just jumping here because we spoke about those things. Um, Out of body experience is natural. Are you guys familiar with the IAC? Have you ever been at the IAC before? Let me just quickly mention a few things here to you, but it's 40 seconds. We are an organization with over 30 years of experience in education and research as well. We have, or a course that is the Consciousness Development Program has received a award for life transformation. So we were very honored and pleased with that. We have a campus in Portugal. If you are in Europe, please book to visit as soon as life comes back to normal. If you are not in Europe, plan for your next holidays maybe. It's wonderful place, wonderful. So then, but you can find information about it. I'm not going to use the time here. Um, we have held courses in person in 29 countries throughout all of these years, published many scientific articles, organized many different events, conferences and scientific events to try to bring together better notion on the phenomena and bring the scientific community to, to pay attention to this phenomena. But more than anything else, what we like is to do what we are doing here, be with you, talk to people and see their bring light to whatever is the question and learn from you. We learn so much from all the experiences and questions, and that's what help us build our body of knowledge. But it's just because some of you have never been with the IEC before, so I have to introduce and say that I am only one of the researchers and instructors of the IEC. We have a very selected group of instructors, but here, let us think about one thing, and you may not be certain of that, but this seems to be a consensus for many different reasons. I'm not going to go through it here because it would require 1 hour to explain. But what we have been observing and hearing is that when we are just relaxed, imagine you are in a deep sleep, or you are in a anesthesia, but there's a name when it's full anesthesia, whole body anesthesia. I just forgot now the expression. And suppose otherwise that you are very, very, very relaxed, like in a very deep meditation. What happens is that naturally our energies, the energy that connects the physical and the non-physical astral body, they start getting loosened up. And this is why Alfredo, the guy that I told you about there at the beginning of our talk here, this is why Alfredo could not have these experiences because the energies were so stuck. So throughout the CDP, we kept doing exercises and the energies start getting more malleable until he was very close to leave the body. And then he noticed he had the fear. But he wouldn't get that close had he not properly prepared his energy. Now, having these energies disconnected and us detaching from the body is not difficult. It's just a deep, deep, deep relaxation. All of us in regular nights, normal nights, we have at least brief moments of very deep metabolism, very deep sleep. In those moments, our energies tend to get loosened and we tend to detach from the body. But usually it's just something like you see here in the screen now, just a brief moment in which the person is slightly disconnected. There is no actual experience. It's like sleeping outside the body, if you get what I mean. But this is what happens to us. So it's already happening. We need now to think, I want to be aware of what happens and to control this phenomena that happens and to be able to learn and enjoy this phase of the experience. And that's what we want to establish and do here. Now, when we talk about the disconnection, there are a few things for us to understand just to help us think about fears or no fears and what could be inside of us as maybe just an uncertainty, but an uncertainty is big enough to prevent us from leaving the body. We have to see that our will is what control the degree in which we are going to be aware outside the body. So for example, the more we can control our energy, the more we are going to, at will, loosen up this connection, this interface between the physical and the non-physical body. So we kind of melt down these energies, which many people will call aura, energy body, chakras. They are more or less the same thing, just different ways of observing and studying them. But our chakras, they connect the physical bodies to the non-physical body. I suppose you are familiar with the term chakras, are you? Like centers of energy in our bodies. And sometimes when we are detaching from the body, disconnecting, getting out, we may feel some of them. It's relatively common that people may feel, for example, their forehead, like the chakra here in the third eye, but not necessarily. There are many different sensations. But it's also a fact that sometimes we can leave the body fully conscious without having any sensation at all. It's just awareness, 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 and poof, we are out. So sensations, when we are detaching from the body, they come for a reason. They mean something, and they will be different from one person to another. We have to learn about ourselves to be able to interpret our sensations, to figure out what is natural to us and what's not. What is something that we have to do something about and work on that? And what is something that the best is just to relax and let it move on, go ahead. Because when we do not have the information, what could be enjoyable may turn rather into something that we are confused about. So the silver cord is also composed of these same energies that connects the two bodies. And no matter where we are, so far we have not seen any evidence of problems on that. Because if we detach from the body just by being in a deep relaxation, then it would be, dangerous to go to sleep. So this, for example, if we right now take an airplane to visit a relative, is there some danger? It's much, 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 much more dangerous and probable of any problem than an out-of-body experience. We have to understand why we feel certain things, what happens, what are the mechanisms. In other words, what are the laws of physics and society out there? Once we understand it, that's it. We will know what's going on and what to do. As much as we know here that you get to a building, you get an elevator, you press a button, you are going to a certain floor, it's natural. If you don't like elevators, you have to climb up. That's it. Same thing. We learn how things work. But for this, we need a proper guidance to be able to interpret the experiences. But what I'm trying to say here behind is there are safety mechanisms based on those energies. And that's why we naturally have these experiences. Another thing I want to bring to you is that when we disconnect and we are out, we naturally go to a place that has some level of affinity with us. We are not going to end up in a place that has nothing to do with us. The problem here is that sometimes people are in connection with energies that they are not aware of. For example, they have some not so good energies inside of their house, and they are not aware of it. What happens during the night? Let us think. If we have some level of separation from the body, even slight one, that separation happens in an environment that the energies are not good. The best is to know of it. If you are trying to leave the body and then you sense, some energies here, I don't feel okay. Immediately you have the technique. You have to know the technique to handle that, to interpret what you do in each specific circumstances. That's why when we teach the out-of-body experience in our main program for this, the consciousness development program, we like first giving specific training, specific information that is like giving us the tools so that we can interpret and know how to act in each specific situation that can happen to us outside the body. We think that is vital. Otherwise, it's just, do this and that. But without a proper knowledge. And for us, this is very serious to provide people with proper knowledge, not just, hey, you leave the body, everything is going to be perfect. No, you leave the body, 98% chances, everything is going to be perfect. But in case you are not comfortable or something looks strange, you will know exactly what to do and why that happens. And on the contrary, it's wonderful that you have this experience because then you can see what is not so well adjusted around of you that maybe you were not aware of, and then you can adjust. But the fact is that we have to talk about all the different possibilities if we want to understand the astral travel. It cannot be just part of the situation. Like, wow, if you go to New York, visit Central Park. It's only beautiful things, only nature. Is it? What about people who sneaks there and maybe they just go and make a huge drug party, not necessarily with the best of the consequences? What about the different crimes? What about the homeless people who are there desperate? So reality is reality. But if we understand, we can go and enjoy Central Park. Does it make sense? Because we are understanding what's there. So here we have to see that it's not like we go, boom, we are going to appear in a place that has nothing to do with us. It's not like that. Another thing that I want to mention here is that we also have to understand the non-physical body or the astral body, if you whatever you call it. And we have to understand the mechanisms that operate in this non-physical dimension, non-physical world we go to. So here I just put a picture of somebody passing through an object. For us, it may sound just so natural, but for many people, it can be super duper scared, fearful, frightening, sorry, super frightening, because they just get them out of surprise. Or if they meet someone that they can communicate with, so they get surprised. It's very important to understand. Like if you go visit some place, it's very important how you should behave in each place, right? We cannot go to visit Japan, that is very different culture, and want to behave like we behave here. They don't shake hands, although nowadays we don't anymore, but they don't shake hands ever. They don't hand you something with the right hand. It has to be with both. They have to do some specific gestures and signs. If you want to go to Japan and communicate and have a full experience, you have to know how things are there. And look, I'm talking about only Japan, physical world, and a country that we have lots of information about. Imagine the non-physical world. I am fascinated by that. I study that a lot. I do not know if you guys have had the opportunity to see my TEDx talk. If you didn't, take a look there. It's about out-of-body experience. So I love it. I think it's a tool for freedom. But for the very same reason, any type of fear or conditioning stops us. And that's what this world is about, stopping us from becoming more liberated inside, in our minds. Everything is inside of us. And then the program I am mentioning to you is the Consciousness Development Program. I'm going to get your questions now. And the group from IAC asked me to inform to you that we have a period for registration that is open for a week. If you register until the 25th, which I think is Monday, you have a 15% discount. I have to tell you what is give me a moment here. What is the link for the bonus? Angelica, you were there with me. Can you please check
I
link
put
for
in
the
the
bonus
chat.
and tell here to everyone, please?
I put in the chat.
There it is. So
Yeah.
efficient. Angelica already put there for everyone. Thank you, Angelica. I was not aware you were there following with us. So if you would like to take advantage of this opportunity, by all means, we are going to be with you many times. I teach several classes, and other colleagues of mine also teach several classes there. So I recommend, in case you are interested in going further in developing your own out-of-body experiences. And one thing that I do not get tired of mentioning is that the out-of-body experience is not an end. It's a means. It's a tool for us to understand ourselves, for us to find answers, for us to feel more in peace inside of us, for us to have a break of this life in a good sense, to expand. It's like when we have vacations, we want to go to a different place, but it's like getting a vacation, healthy one, from life. We experience other things, and when we manage to fly outside the body, I do not know if any of you ever had this experience, but it's so liberating and so energizing that sometimes we come back. It's almost as if we will be rested for many hours. We cannot even sleep when we come back, if it's in the middle of the night, because we are super energized. So it is a truly wonderful experience. Sorry.
Can you hear now?
Oh, yes, I can.
Okay. Okay.
Or check if let me close. Okay. Yes, please.
Can
Who
you
is
hear
talking
me
to me
now?
now? Yes, I can. Debbie, sorry.
Okay. Yes. I
Thank
just have a
you.
question that before, when I was a child, I used to have those experience leaving the body, being able, I was observing how I was leaving the body. And then I grew up and I had a near-death experience and seeing my body in my bed and just getting out of the room, all these things. But now I don't have those experiences anymore. And in those times, when I was a child, I didn't have any knowledge about it. Having experience with energy or feeling that presence, or I just remember when I was a child, just being in the living room and not able to move at all, but sensing this huge energy in the living room. Then when I was a teenager, or I had that watching TV, just feeling leaving my body, just watching TV, and I say, oh, I'm watching TV, but I'm leaving my body. And then even other times I was sleeping and I was noticing that I was leaving my body and leaving the room. My question is, even having experience when I'm sleeping, going to other places, and sometimes like trying to help somebody, but that was unconsciously, completely, because I never went to sleep with that intention. So,
Mhm.
but
But
now
all of
I
that,
don't have that much experience.
all of that you are telling me, Debbie, was from your childhood and your teens, right?
Yeah, and
All of
in
the
adult age also, yeah.
in
But
adult age also, but now not anymore. Okay.
no, not that much. And I say, why I don't. One day I was meditating. It was like I didn't do nothing so special. I just take 2, 3 deep breaths, and then I was out and I was trespassing the wall. And
Mhm.
and yes, at that moment I really was finding a master. But it was just like that happens. I don't know how long it is, maybe seconds.
Yes.
Was
So
able
what you
to.
are describing, sure, what you are describing is very, very, very common, because it seems that when we are young, but young, I mean up to 19, according to statistics, to
Mhm,
surveys, up to 19, it's easier to leave the body. And most people have their most lucid out of body
mhm.
experience at that age. And it seems to be easy for some people. And there
Yeah.
is when they have the most. According to my research, it's so much easier than when we are kids. All of the people that I have
Mhm,
interviewed, and I interviewed many from like 14 different countries, all of them, they had more predisposition, or they would experience the out of body experience more easily when they were kids.
mhm,
But why is that? That is the $1 million question. There are many different factors. Sometimes it's just because our minds start to become too much connected with physical life, more worries. So people tend to have more experience when they are, for example, at the university. And then you have to go to work, and then you have a relationship, and
mhm,
then you have kids. And then our minds become too focused on everyday life. And one day, when we notice, we are caught by that. It's hard to get out of this loop of
mhm,
living the physical life more than our real multi-dimensional nature, because we are not physical. And I include myself in that. I had so many experiences so easily when I was up to 15, 16. Nowadays, I do have experience. I managed to leave the body at will, but not at the same success rate at all, not even close. So I guess there are different situations for each of us. But if your life is more or less stable now, if you have a routine, if you can have control of where you can put your mind on, what I suggest is that you learn how to deal with your energy body, because you start melting the energies and it will make it easier. So all of the easy um, or predisposition that you had, better saying, when you were
mhm.
younger will come back by making these energies more flexible. So that's what I suggest. Okay.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Debbie. I have somebody who left a question here. I want to know more about the certification to be able to teach. I have taken the CDP class and energy class. I'm loving it. Ah, wonderful. Who is that? Jaime. Jaime, no, creo. So you can write to learning@iacworld.org, and then we are going to send you specific information about that. Please, I do not know by heart now all of the details. Thank you, Jaime. Very good. We have been teaching for so long the consciousness development program and developing so many techniques that, after a
You
while,
going in, huh?
yes, we see that people
Well, what's
need.
that thing in your hand?
Um, Someone has the microphone open and we can hear you.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
I have here another question that is just want to say that I started the course 2 days ago. Wonderful. And I was so afraid at the beginning. But after, let me try to read the rest of it. I'm curious now. But oh, I lost it. I dislike so much this. Let me try to open. Pop out. Okay, I found it. Now I'll be able to read it. I started 2 days ago. And I was so afraid at the beginning, but after some lessons, I don't feel afraid anymore. Thank you so much. Wonderful. I cannot read your name here, but I'm very glad. It happened the same to me when I started the techniques. Soon, I got rid of any sort of fear that I still might had long ago, huh? But that was it. That was it. I want to see this webinar because it's happening a lot to me. Wonderful. And many times every week. Yesterday, I managed to open the eyes and I saw everything around me. I am afraid to go out. I'm afraid of that unknown world. Natural, right? Because we don't have information. I tried to concentrate on the outside of my apartment and I woke up. One of the things that sometimes I also emphasize is that our fears or our uncertainties are very much exploited by horror movies in general because it sells making us feel afraid, and sometimes young people like the excitement of seeing those horror scenes, but it gets stuck in our mind a lot. Okay, I'm going to get a couple of comments here and then we stop it so it doesn't get too late for you. Had some experience before 19 and started to have then again after retired. Wonderful, Lydia. Wonderful. Yes, that shows the point. We settle our minds and it helps a lot. I'm very glad for you. I try to forget about it because it's just more and more intense. Ah, yes, the person that said was afraid. Next time, what you try and do, try to practice some energy work before you go to bed so that you can feel stronger, energetically speaking. It makes a big, big difference. You balancing out your energies and knowing that the field of energies around of you is stable. Knowing is not because, okay, I know because I did A or B. No, it's because you feel it. Even though it may not be so clear to us what we sense in terms of energy and the non-physical world, our mind picks it, even unconsciously. So that's what sometimes hold us. Jaime is saying that he suggests the Energo Fitness. Thank you, Jaime. He has been practicing there and it's very helpful. I love the Energo Fitness. For those of you who do not know, the Energo Fitness it's a type of a gym for the energy body we created. So we get together 2-3 times per month in a group and we practice energy exercises, but they're exercises that were devised to develop different characteristics of our energies. It's very enjoyable. Thank you for mentioning, Jaime. It's wonderful. I felt a female being was talking to me next to me 3 days ago. It was scary. It can be scary sometimes, definitely. The last one I'm going to read and comment. Okay, guys? Lloyd, I've heard that not matching the energy of souls who may have bad intention is part of safety. For me, though, I get so angry with people in this world with bad intentions that I am afraid I would engage with the negative entities instead of changing the vibe. You are right in some aspects, but it's not so simple because we may, for example, be so sensitive that some sort of entity exploit inside of us some of our fears, some of our doubts. So even if you do not have a bad intention, but indeed, there are so many crazy things around. And I understand sometimes it's hard to think of them and say, okay, I'm cool. I don't mind. We mind with the things that we are seeing are not okay. We mind with observing things that we know they should be different because we have information that maybe people don't get it. But we can continue thinking all of that, having the information, however, not allowing these disturbed vibes reach us and not allowing our angry madness with all of these situations go out. Meaning, we still have an understanding, we can still talk about, we can still act, and we should, without going to the negative sides of it or engaging with vibes. You are right. But there are techniques that you can do. And sometimes it's unavoidable to be in contact with some bad energies because the world has a lot of it. Very good, guys. I hope you enjoyed our talk. I very much enjoyed here. I was very excited talking to you, and I hope I see you in one of our next webinars. Please feel free to join others, different instructors, different approach, and different angles about what we study, which is not only the out of body experience, it's rather what the out of body experience teaches us and how we can use it. So that's wonderful topic. See you then soon, I hope, inside the body or outside the body. Thank you again for being with me, and enjoy your projections and everything. Bye bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.